Hi, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to share tools for transformation to live your highest truth. What is your highest truth? What is the highest truth to you? I think the way that you find that out is through meditation. And meditation doesn't necessarily have to be sitting alone quietly for hours, days, weeks at a time in the cave in the Himalayas. There's so many different ways and tools that we can explore our consciousness to tune into what our truest path is. And so to that point, I've invited my brother in Truth Be Told, Robert Hensley, to join me today. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
One of the reasons we're talking to Robert is because we are super excited that in just 3 weeks to be announcing the first ever Parapod Festival, which is going to be happening in Santa Clarita on April 1st, March 31st and April 1st. Robert will be teaching on April 1st.
I will be, yeah.
And so we're talking today about elemental meditation. Robert, is that what your workshop's going to be at the Parapod Festival?
Yeah, we'll be doing a very specific form of elemental meditation. I've chosen to do an air meditation, which focuses on breathing.
Nice.
But it's also kind of combining not just the element of air, but also pointed focus meditation. So we'll be practicing something called color meditation.
Wow.
Which is really focusing on our breathing and giving ourselves the opportunity to experience. I'm trying to think of how to describe it properly. It's almost it's experiencing weightlessness.
Okay.
In a way.
Yeah.
And it really does kind of touch on multiple kind of points from elemental meditation, but it's mostly breath work.
Okay, so tell me about elemental meditation, because I haven't heard about this until I met you with this. And so we're talking about the 5 elements, 4 elements?
Well, okay.
It's 4 directions.
Right, so there are 4 cardinal elements and
right.
2 esoteric elements.
Okay.
A lot of people just choose to work with earth, air, fire, water.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 regular, everybody kind of knows the elements. And then others add in space and consciousness.
Okay. Is space and ether the same thing?
Yes.
All right. And consciousness, that's an interesting one.
Well, consciousness is the awareness of being.
Okay.
So if we think of it kind of in if it were a chart, if you would, a compass, the compass would sit on a wheel, which would be space. And inside of space would be consciousness, or the being, which is the culmination of all of the elements coming together. And then, of course, you have fire to the north, earth to the south, air to the east,
water to the west. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it all kind of fits together. But elemental meditation is really just about being able to honor our connection to the physical world.
That's nice. That's well put, because to think about it. So did you, again, I want to, one of the reasons we're talking to each other today is, and I've never had a chance to interview you, so this is great, and you're doing some amazing work, and he's just newly certified in sound healing, which is, I just love that and can't wait for session, much needed. And so for Parapod Festival, it's an event that we will be having so many different speakers in different areas, genres of the paranormal. And so I was just curious, why air on a day like that? I mean, it feels like it could be like, if it were me, I'm wondering if I might have chosen Earth, because there's going to be all this higher up. So I'd love to ask, what made you think about air for our event?
Because specifically, I am following Tracy Dunblasier. I almost did it. I keep calling her Tracy Dunblasier, but she's actually Tracy Dunblazer. Okay. I keep fancying up her last name, but she's doing a talk about crystals. Okay. Right before the meditation. So
that's the earth element.
She's already touching on earth.
Got it.
And prior to her earlier in the day, then there's a sound bath with Corey Lee, And that's already going to be very lofty and very
yeah.
in the air, and people are going to be really kind of, in that place. Day starts with yoga in the Transformation Garden, so again, that's very grounded. And I just felt that, coming back to breathing. And the other thing too is I think color meditation.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The way that it works really is it's almost when we say pointed focus meditation, it's can be about visualization. And so what this is about is focusing on your breathing and then allowing yourself to visualize, go to that place behind your eyelids. And some people say that it's, seeing the color of your aura, but everyone kind of, you start to see that twinkling of a light behind your your eyelids.
Yeah.
And then it starts to shift and take on a color.
It does. It does.
And so what we do is as we focus on our breathing and as we inhale, we start to allow that color to open and spread and fill our bodies. Little by little, every time we breathe, we're breathing in that color, right? And then at some point after we're filled, we hold it. And it almost transforms into an earth meditation, because then we're very focused on the weight of that color and how it holds us down, and we can feel ourselves pressing against the earth. And then as we exhale, we're very slowly allowing that color to kind of ebb away from us, right? It's flowing out, and it almost becomes more of a water meditation because it's very emotional. We're releasing and sending that out into the world.
Yeah.
Right? We're sending that color away. And then really that's the kind of meditation that meditation I learned when I was in theater school. And it was, for a group of teenagers who are just all over the place, to have that kind of tool at their disposal to kind of bring themselves into a place where they could be creative and focused. I don't know, I just felt like that was probably the best way of sharing what it is that I have to share.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell me your journey about getting to this place of this type of meditation. And I had never heard about it until you introduced me to it. So what is your background with meditation and the metaphysical?
Oh, my background. This happened completely I don't want to say by accident. It was, I'll say that it's just it was an organic progression. I've always been very interested in the idea of meditating and being connected and feeling that connectedness and trying to honor the space that we have.
Yeah.
But for 30 years, this spring will be 30 years, I've been a professional makeup artist. Right?
Wow,
in
that's amazing.
Film, television, and towards at some point last year, I had a hand injury. And it's been a really long and kind of arduous journey of figuring out whether or not I'll be able to continue doing makeup.
Wow.
And I had an epiphany of sorts where I realized that I could either wallow in pity and shame and be angry about losing this particular part of my life that I love so much.
Right.
Or I could find other avenues and think of other ways to kind of move on with my life. And so I started taking classes in meditation and realized that was really helping me. And in one of those classes, we were discussing sound therapy. And I'm not the most musical of people. But I don't know, I was really interested in this idea of kind of, sound and
vibration.
Vibration. Yeah, just kind of like if there's a way of experiencing the energy that we talk about, how do we do that? So I started researching classes and courses, and I took the sound therapy course first, and then I was invited to come back for a master class. But in order to take the master class, I had to have my certification as a meditation leader.
Okay.
So I went to do that certification, and while I was there, became very interested in pre-Celtic traditions and contemporary Celtic shamanism.
Right on.
And those things kind of led me on this path to a more natural, kind of elemental type of meditation. And I realized that it wasn't something that a lot of people were really doing.
Right.
And we live in Los Angeles. Everyone has an angle. Everyone has an angle.
Interesting.
There's a niche for everybody.
Yeah.
And I realized that this was a niche that I could explore for myself. So I continued studying and got my certifications and felt that this was really probably a really great and honest way for me to be able to continue working with the actors that I enjoy working with, and being of use to storytellers, which has been what my career has always been about, is supporting storytellers and helping actors find the tools that they need to create.
Incredible.
And so, this all just kind of...
It's almost like you were helping the actors be beautiful on the outside with your work as a makeup artist, and now you're helping find that inner energy and glow through the meditation. I don't know.
Well, it's funny working with actors as a makeup artist. It's you see people transform, not just in their looks, but for a lot of people, once they kind of see themselves in character with the makeup and the hair and costume, everything, it changes their entire being. Like, it brings something out of them. And while I may not be able to do that anymore, what I can do is give them the tools to be able to really kind of go inside and find that character,
right,
without all of the accoutrement.
Well, right, exactly. It's the war paint, if you will. I mean, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
So when I introed the show, I was talking about how traditionally meditation is really just simple, right? Clearing, nothing, doing absolutely nothing. And for years and years, that was always difficult for me. And then I found tools such as mantra and mudra. And then eventually I've experienced gong baths, sound baths, as far back as the 90s. I was doing that, and I found that I could clear. So in other words, I wasn't very good at just doing nothing. So again, I feel like what you're doing here is an interesting way for people, and you've described it a little bit, but for people to use some traditional tools, and this is where I'd love to talk about a little bit more about the shamanism, to help them find quiet, right? Or to know a certain energy and focus, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I think I know that, like, for me, for years, even though I loved the idea of meditating, like, when I would sit down to try to meditate,
I get hungry. I'm like thinking, what am I going to eat after this?
I was all over the place. Yeah. As a chubster, I understand. But
we'll blame it on you. You're a good meditator.
But the thing and what I learned through this process is really that, those people like myself who was like, I just can't get my mind to stop. Don't stop your mind, because that means you're dead, and then there's no point in meditating.
Right.
Right. Right. If you're not thinking, you're dead. Give it up. You'll be meditating for a real long time. But it's really about calming the mind and focusing your awareness. And that's the thing, is I think people lose track of, our thoughts, our awareness. We're just taking that awareness and we're pulling it inside and kind of forcing ourselves to focus. For a lot of people, something like, pointed focus meditation is really good because it gives them one thing to think about. So they're not zipping all over with multiple thoughts. They've just got this one thing to focus on. Elemental meditation really is, you're focusing on, in a kind of a full session, you're focusing on your connection to each of the elements. And that gives you something to kind of really kind of ground your practice. I mean, even mindfulness meditation, which is, those people who are like, you just need to meditate for 15 minutes a day and it'll change your life, which it can. But again, it's really, again, a mantra, or, anything that allows you, again, to focus your thoughts and calm yourself and be on one thing.
One pointedness, yeah.
Really, I mean, I don't understand transcendental meditation myself. Because that is taking awareness and calming things and slowing things to a level that I can't do yet. And that I don't know that I would ever have the tools to do, because I think that really does require a cave in the Himalayas.
I know, right? And I have had that experience, by the way, that I did go into a cave. It was in the foothills of the Himalayas. Okay. And I want to say it was that location helped me get to a depth that I have never known before. I don't know what that was about.
Sensory deprivation.
Yeah, it really was.
So it turns out that the whole practice of, transcendental meditation, and why kind of the ancient shamans went away for that to happen, was because they were putting themselves in a state of sensory deprivation. It's dark, there's no sound, there's no
air. I mean, there's no blowing of the wind, right, is what I want to say.
Yeah, there's no movement there.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
So it really, I mean, I wish I were, one of those people that could say, I have a sensory deprivation chamber in my bathroom or in the
maybe
backyard.
At some point, we'll see. But in the meantime, I mean, it is being of the world and in and of the world. So help me with the shamanistic component of this, and particularly Celtic. That's very interesting to me.
Well, I think the thing that most people don't really think about or aren't really aware of is that, the Celtic, we have this idea of, that it's, the Irish, Gaelic, it's very, and that's kind of all that we know of it, right? And even kind of pre-Celtic, which is, the Druids before the Celts, were these kind of very spiritually based tribes that lived in Britain before, the Celts arrived, before the Romans arrived, but they were what we call heart-based, meaning that everything was memorized by heart. So beautiful. There was no, it's prehistoric. There's no written history of a lot of their practices. So you either learn the practice or learn the traditions passed down through generations. But at some point, because of how revered the Druids were for being shamans, right, for leading people, for offering judgment and guidance, and basically for being kind of sage wisdom givers. The Romans kind of saw this as them having a lot of power, so they eradicated the Druids. Most of them were forced into, those that survived were forced to kind of not practice or live in the shadows. Celts, again, had their own practices that came from Europe to Britain, and a lot of these kind of pagan practices, when we witness something that we don't understand, we kind of try to create an analogy or a metaphor that ties it to something that we know or that other people might understand, so that they can better grasp the situation. And I think that's what happened with even Celtic, like the original Celtic traditions. The Greek travelers and the Romans were writing about these traditions that they saw, but they were writing about them in ways that were really kind of from their own perspective. So they ended up kind of connecting, these rituals and practices to gods that didn't exist. The Romans had gods, but the Celts didn't. There is no god. There are no gods. So now we've got this kind of contemporary Celtic tradition, which is, there are over 280 recorded gods in the Celtic tradition, and there are all of these wonderful, beautiful practices that are based on traditions that were kind of passed down. But it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to
imagine.
learn. It's a lot to learn and a lot to study.
And a different language as well. I mean,
yeah. And so my study at this point really has just been trying to glean what I can as far as, or is getting as close to kind of like the natural, organic, original, kind of that base. And there are so many books, and there are so many perspectives, and there are so many teachers, and people who really want to share knowledge, which I think is fantastic. But it's a bit like cobbling the whole thing together on your own a little bit.
Well, I think, you pick and choose what is resonant for you.
Yeah.
And with your other experiences. And really, you're a guide, you're a teacher. So you definitely are you want to help people learn this. And so if you can keep it simple through your vast studies, I think I applaud you, and I feel like it's also necessary.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think one of the things that for me that really kind of resonated when going through this and starting learning and pulling things together was, one was the reverence for the natural world.
Yeah, I relate.
I grew up in a very rural area where there's a large nature conservancy that owns a lot of the land. So people there are very respectful of the natural world. And so it's a little disheartening when you see and hear about all of the things that are happening in other natural spaces. And so that stuff really does kind of resonate with me.
Yeah.
And then also, grew up on a farm with a lot of animals. I've always been an animal person.
Do you have a favorite animal? I mean, it's a weird question. I just felt like asking it. I'm trying to think if I have one.
I've always had a particular, I don't know if it's a connection to or just gorillas for me are just kind of, I think,
Nice.
some of the most regal animals.
Yeah.
I love everything that I've ever read about, and Jennifer, who you're going to meet on in your next show, she's, her husband owns a company called Silverback Coffee of Rwanda, which is
amazing
coffee that's grown in Africa and fairly traded and brought here, imported, and part of the proceeds from the sales of their go to maintain the habitats for the silverback gorillas.
Nice.
And so I love their company.
So,
That's it just kind of it all clicks.
Yeah.
But
I think now that you're talking about it, I'm going to go with elephants for me. So anyway, I mean, I love dolphins very much,
course,
but if we're just doing earth animals, I'm going to go with the elephant myself.
There was a period of time, and you can ask my mother because we wrote quite a few checks. I was really into, remember the Free Willy period?
Yeah.
Yeah. We sent a lot of money to Earth Island Institute trying to free Keiko.
Amazing.
So I have, kind of connected with different animals over the years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost a trick question. I don't want to make you to commit to one.
Well, it's kind of the same way that I feel about colors as an artist. I can't choose just one color.
Right, I know.
But I know that, as far as kind of the Celtic angle and the shamanism, one of the things that I really picked up on was this idea of spirit animals and the reverence for animals within that tradition.
Yes.
And that has given me a lot to think about and a lot to kind of play with in my practice.
I think it's almost relating to what the information our forefathers were getting from the animals, because they had a different kind of interaction with them than we did.
Right.
They saw deer, they saw wolf, they saw, buffalo. And that actually is a great segue to talk about your deck.
Yes.
I'm just going to hold it up. I've got it right here. And they're beautiful cards. And I'll let you describe the procedure, but you would go with a different element and also the different spirit animals to get your messages. So do you want to share a little bit more
Yeah, we
about...
can talk about, So I never thought about creating anything like this before. But I realized that when I was kind of meditating and getting more into elemental meditation, and then I was starting to add spirit animal guidance into my meditation, which is the practice of kind of calling upon and seeking guidance from a spirit animal. That I just had this idea of like, what if people were able to kind of, draw 2 cards, and that was more or less a meditation prompt for the day.
Yeah.
And so I designed this deck that has the 6 elements. So it has earth, air, fire, water, consciousness, and space, right? And so what you would do is you would separate those from the deck first. So all of the elements are separated into one tiny pile of 6 cards. Okay. And then you have 16 very common animals that were revered in the Celtic tradition.
Great.
Okay.
Should I mention some of them?
Sure.
Okay, we've got blackbird, hawk, owl, crow, wolf.
The wolf has been speaking to me lately.
Eagle, stag, boar, horse, swan, badger, and salmon, and eel, which is an interesting one.
The eel is, I wish that I got the eel in my dealings more often, because the eel is a figure of transition. They're a very adaptable animal, so you can just
that would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
I wish that I was seeing more eel, but I'm not. The wolf keeps coming up. And
so what are we learning from wolf right now?
Well, part of me,
courage and order.
Yeah,
you need that.
Part of me questions whether or not it keeps coming up because the wolf is claiming me as like, that is my spirit animal, that is my spirit guide.
Yeah.
At this point, which I'm down.
That's an honor. I've had wolf show up for me in journeys for years now.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. But yeah, and so how each animal kind of connects to each element determines, how you would translate that kind of the pairing that you decide.
Great. Well, I'm going to pick some cards, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And you can just, I don't want to put you on the spot. You don't have to do a super in-depth read, but just a little bit, just to see what it's like.
Sure.
And I don't know, is this something that you'll be doing at Parapod, or?
If we have time somewhere in a corner, maybe.
Okay, that's great. So you'll be able to find Robert, and I will be there too, of course, April 1st. Okay, so I have chosen the air card.
Air card.
Come on, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
That is so great. And
so
then
remember, air, so basically this is telling you that your meditation today, what you need to think about or maybe focus on is your breathing, right? And that could be cleansing breaths. That could be.
Is air kind of does it fall under transformation, or is that more fire would be transformation? Since that's my favorite thing to talk about on this show.
I think fire is probably more transformative, but all of the elements are transformative.
You're right. That's very, very
true. Because remember, air moves soil just as well as water and
Look what the winds have been doing to our trees in Los Angeles during the crazy storms.
I know.
All right, let's see what I've got, what animal I've got. So again, there's this deck would have one pile that are the elements and another pile of cards that are the spirit animals that we just kind of mentioned. And I have chosen the eel.
The eel.
Come on. We were just talking about the eel.
Yeah. And so the eel is, again, a figure of transition, right? Adaptability. And I do not have all these memorized, even though I wrote them.
That's okay. We can, and what's fun is just to kind of go with it, to use your imagination.
Okay. So, so the thing about it is the air is usually a symbol of the future, things to come.
Okay.
Right? Specifically, kind of our security in the future, right? So when you have the air and you have the eel together, right? The thing that you might want to consider or seeking guidance from the eel in your meditation would be for guidance in learning to roll with the punches, to be able to adapt and allow yourself to enjoy the place where you are so that you can secure the future.
Nice.
So
I like that.
So that's what that tells me.
Okay, that's great.
That's what that says to me.
And the more you work with these, the more we will have understandings of, again, we'll know the elements, we'll know the sort of broad strokes of the meanings of these spirit animals, and then we can continue to learn and use your own intuition in all of this. So I think it's just an opportunity to use these archetypes, right?
Absolutely.
To pull a message for your day, right? And let that resonate and watch for signs all day long. Like,
Always.
where does this come up for me? And you'll be surprised. There are aha moments to be had in lots of different places on this. So maybe I'm going to be, I'm not saying I'm going to have eel sushi tonight, but.
It's funny you mentioned that. A friend of mine the other day, she said, I don't know what's going on with these cards. She said, when I pulled the eel this morning, she was like, I've broken a bottle of eel sauce. She was like, that they brought lunch into the office and they were eel rolls.
Oh my gosh.
She was like, everything is coming up eel.
I mean, come on. I'm just saying.
That something was talking to her. Like I said, well, I try to do a daily draw.
Yes.
And I posted on my Instagram.
Okay. We'll
Just
watch for
because
that. Tell us your Instagram, please.
At Rob Hensley.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's at the bottom of the screen under my name. There. Thank you, Cody. But I try not to, because I want people to see all the different cards and kind of get a sense of what the different, pairings mean. I had to take a day off because no matter what I did, I was getting the wolf card. I could not draw another animal to save my life, and I was like, I can't post like 5 days
That
of
is
wolf.
wild.
So I took a day off and came back, and then like finally had like a different animal.
And somebody else spoke to you. Wolf is like, fine, you got our message. Yeah, I have one deck that it is uncanny how the same card keeps coming out. It's like an angelic messenger card, and it's divine guidance. And it's a big deck. I mean, there's 50 cards or something in there. I keep getting that same card. It's wild for years now. So I love it. I love playing with decks. I love the idea of the meditation. And I really can't wait for your class again at Parapod. So in our final moments, Robert, I'm going to say that Robert is live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. On YouTube, and of course, our shows are all on any of your favorite podcast platforms. And we really are very, very excited to meet you in person on March 31st and April 1st. And so I'm going to let you are super immersed and very well spoken. So tell us, let's talk a little bit about Friday night and what that's going to be like at the Parapod Festival. Santa Clarita, everybody.
Yeah.
Get ready for this one.
Okay, so if you have not been to the website, www.parapodfestival.com, you probably haven't looked at our schedule, and you should. Although I don't think the Friday schedule's up yet, but we will get that going. So the first day, Friday, is in Mentryville, California. It's a state park that happens to it hosts or is the location of like an original California oil boom town. It's a ghost town.
Right.
So Mentryville was founded by the superintendent for Standard Oil, who opened or found oil in the Pico Canyon. By 1900, like the town had like tennis courts and a croquet field.
Amazing.
And all this great stuff. The roads were paved, and there was his mansion, and there was a schoolhouse, the first schoolhouse in the Santa Clarita Valley. All this great stuff. And then he passed away, and as the oil wells started to dry up, people just kind of left. So now all that's left is the mansion, one tiny cottage, the schoolhouse, a couple of outbuildings, and a barn. And the town is said to be haunted. The mansion was damaged in the 1994 Northridge earthquake, and the people who lived there were actually descendants of Charles Mentry, who founded the town, and they claim that he is the one who guided them to safety during that earthquake.
Wow.
And so
Beautiful.
different teams of investigators have visited. They claim that it's always very active. And so there are, said to be the ghosts of some children who hang out in the schoolhouse, and Charles Mentry is in the main house. And so Friday during the day, because I'm not doing it at night, Friday during the day, we're doing a kind of a ghost town investigation. We're going to be breaking up into teams, and we're going to be going and visiting the first floor of the mansion with a sensitive, a psychic.
Okay.
And then another team will go to the schoolhouse and play with EMF detectors and try to do EVP recordings. I think we have a spirit box. That thing that plays the white noise, and then you kind of hear words popping out of the white noise.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah. So we have some stuff like that going on during the day, and then we take a lunch break, and then we come back, and Ben Hansen, who was the host of Fact or Faked Paranormal Files, is going to be doing stargazing in the desert. So it'll be like, in a ghost town looking for UFOs. And then we'll have people going back into the mansion at night with the White Witch of Hollywood, Patty Negri from Ghost Adventures.
Can't wait to meet Patty.
And
yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she's been on Tony's show a lot, on Tony's Sweet Show, so be sure to...
And, so that'll be like a whole
so
kind
Patty's
of haunted
going to
day.
go and tap into her read on the...
Yeah, and see what she can kind of tell people is going on there.
Okay, so...
And then after we've, scared ourselves crapless.
I know.
The next day we'll be at the Hyatt Regency, Valencia, which is a beautiful hotel with a great conference center. And we will have opening ceremonies with Tony and Jimmy Church, and I believe that the former mayor of Santa Clarita, who is also on the city council, is going to be there to give some certificates to our keynote speakers and cut the ribbon and start things off.
Santa Clarita has been so welcoming of this. It's incredible.
They've been great.
And if for anybody that's in the LA area, but you don't quite know where that is, it's really close to Magic Mountain. So
literally, yeah.
Yeah, so just so you know, it's not that far.
Yeah. So if you're going to make a left to go to the roller coasters, just make a right and go to the hotel. That's how it works.
There you go. Exactly. It's going to be it's going to be our own kind of roller coaster.
It will. Well, we have, I don't know if you've realized this, with the Transformation Garden.
Yes.
There are 6 spaces full all day, scheduled all day, with speakers, panels, workshops, everything from UFOs and disclosure, alien abductions, Bigfoot,
there's going to be a Native American dance,
yes,
right?
Native American dance, Native American spirituality. There's a panel about producing the paranormal, which is the guys who produced Ghost Adventures and Destination Truth and all of these great shows are going to talk about actually producing television in this genre.
Oh, that's so interesting.
We've got a panel with TikTokers, Kaylin Moore and Silas Dean and Jennifer Carmody. I mean, just huge names if you follow on TikTok. So they're going to be talking about, kind of this true crime legacy on TikTok.
So that's another
really cool, which is kind of a crossover. A crossover kind of panel is Colby Rebel and Jen Schaefer, who are both intuitive mediums. And both of them have worked with the FBI and police. They're doing a panel on intuitive investigation, like basically psychic crime solving. Okay. So that'll be really interesting too.
Also, it's such a variety. And then of course Linda Moulton Howe, Billy Carson, you mentioned Ernie LaPointe earlier with Native American Wisdom. So we've got Caroline Corey, who is
Dr. Robert Schock.
And Dr. Schock, who's one of my favorites. I've seen him. So these are people that you know from the TV show Ancient Aliens, or if you've ever gone to any of the UFO conferences in the vicinity. I mean, they're superstars, and we're very honored. The Truth Be Told team is we couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, these are huge names in the industry there. And I think the thing that that is really special about Parapod is that, this is it's the first of its kind. Like, there hasn't been a festival like this and what sets us apart, is that, as Bonnie said, we both host for Truth Be Told, and Truth Be Told started with Tony's original Truth Be Told, which is a Friday afternoon show, and he's been doing that for over a decade. But as podcasters, as content creators, we don't really get a lot of recognition with mainstream media or other awards shows, and this is the first festival to really honor not just everything paranormal, but the content creators who work within the paranormal genre. So, we're talking about and kind of pushing people to watch paranormal YouTube videos and TikTokers and all this. We want to really kind of bolster this genre and support it.
And it's a community. It's a chance for the community to come together in all these different genres, including yoga, and would be the transformation genre, the kind of speakers and presenters that I would have on my show, and then Tony and Robert. It's really an incredible mix. So I think you've heard about it. We're going to say it one more time, parapodfestival.com, March 31st, April 1st.
Yes.
Robert will be there and to learn more and guiding us on what I know is going to be a really powerful meditation. I think it's going to be a beautiful point in the day to anchor in lots of learnings that are going to be happening. And again, there's a very reasonably priced admission ticket that gets you so much, many of these different speakers, as well as all these amazing vendors that have been collected. It's just going to be fun. It's really, we hope to meet you in person. And I feel, do you have any parting words on people joining us, as well as? Yeah,
I would just say that the weekend ends with the Parapod Awards.
Okay.
Right. Linda is getting the Media Legend Award. Billy Carson's getting the Pioneer Award. We're awarding for best paranormal documentaries, best podcasts. We've got, we did audience polls and are giving awards to some TV shows that you may enjoy. And all of that, like, for access to everything, you really kind of need to get the VIP weekend pass, which happens to be the best value for the weekend because it gives you access to everything. It's $175, which is really inexpensive when you think about how much people are paying for tickets to some of these other events.
Yeah, exactly.
So 2 days. So you want to come and see me get scared out of my mind on Friday. And because I already know where they're putting me. I'm going to be stationed in the schoolhouse. I'm going to be sitting there with that spirit box. The minute I hear a word, it's going to be like Bugs Bunny. There's going to be a hole in the back of that building, the shape of me.
Well, this is where you're having Wolf as a spirit animal will make you brave and strong and able to run fast.
Yes. Will run with me out the back of that building. But there's just going to be so much going on that weekend, and really, I think that it's I'm just really excited to kind of connect with people and see them enjoying themselves and celebrating this genre that we all work in.
Exactly, it's going to be so exciting. So thank you for letting us know what you're doing. Again, your offerings to the event itself, and just general information about Parapod Fest. I know we're stoked. So, namaste.
Namaste.
Looking forward to the next time, and don't forget to watch Robert every Monday live at 3 Minuteman Report. He will always come up with something fascinating to do a deep dive research on and keep you informed. So. This is Truth Be Told, everybody. Again, I'm Bonnie Burkert, and new episodes every Wednesday, and along with Robert, Tony Sweet, and Metaphor, who now has a new show on Tuesdays. And again, we will see you in just a couple of weeks up in Santa Clarita. And until then, stay shiny. And again, tune in. However you can find that quiet and calm. We shared some of these tools today. However you can find it, that is really what we're here to help you find your happy and brightest self. Until the next time, everyone. Namaste.